Good evening, it's 10 p.m. in Banjul. This is the news. First, the headlines. The government and the private sector validate the Gambia's electricity roadmap. Local and international delegates meet in Banjul to discuss the elimination of chemical weapons. South Africa's Communist Party announces plans to contest future elections on an independent platform. And the UN enlists a port in Brazil among World Heritage Sites. Well, viewers, these and other stories going ahead in this hour. I am Abdullah Baji. The government of the Gambia, through the Ministry of Energy, with support from the World Bank, Tuesday gathered stakeholders from the private and public sectors for a two-day donor roundtable conference to validate the Gambia's electricity sector roadmap. The forum, as educator tells us, forms part of the government's efforts to find a permanent solution to the country's electricity challenges.
It is the opening of a two-day convergence on the high-level consultation and validation of the country's electricity sector roadmap. The energy sector has for the past few months been in an undesirable state, with only 45 megawatts of generation capacity available in the Greater Banjul area. This, coupled with other debts owed to the electricity company, reportedly makes the sector financially untenable for private investment.
The Gambia's electricity subsector has experienced and continues to go through tremendous challenges that require, as a solution, both a paradigm shift and significant investment so that its full, effective and timely implementation can significantly transform the energy sector for good and put it on a sound pedestal of self-sustainability, thereby reducing the burden on major central government resources.
In the face of the challenges confronting the
no matter how well crafted they are, no matter how well intentioned they are, we need electricity to power us through.
The purpose of this document is to provide stakeholders from both public and private entities with a reference point to guide decision-making in the electricity sector.
At the World Bank, we've been engaged for many years in the electricity sector. We have two projects that are currently underway. One is with NAWIC to try and bring online some new HFO contractor that will help to...
Power Kamara tells us more.
It is an international subject of discourse on warfare, denouncing the use of chemical weapons by any means necessary. The Gambia, free from the vices of this weaponry, is playing host to its elimination.
I wish to thank the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, OPCW, for organizing the National Assembly meeting for Africa region in the Gambia. This year marked the 20th of the OPCW, and we in the Gambia are delighted that the OPCW selected the Gambia to host this important regional meeting. The government of the Gambia has been a long-standing partner to OPCW in this effort in the implementation of the provision of the Chemical Weapon Convention to achieve effective and complete disarmament under strict and effective international control, including the prohibition and elimination of all types of weapons of mass destruction.
With the Gambia ratifying the Chemical Weapons Treaty in 1997 for the complete disarmament of countries with weapons of mass destruction, the 192 member countries remains resolute to the Convention on Chemical Weapons.
The collective effort of the Technical Secretariat and state parties has brought the international community closer to a world free of chemical weapons. Nearly 94% of the world's declared stockpile of chemical agents has been destroyed, and more than 6,000 inspections have taken place in industrial sites and other facilities of 86 state parties since 1997. With regard to Syria, the OPCW has carried out a demilitarization program to eliminate totally the chemical weapons. The same endeavor has been made with regard to Libya and Iraq.
We are committed as a country to the objective of the OPCW to create a world free of chemical weapons. I'm pleased to inform this gathering that the Gambia have not recorded any presence and use of any scheduled chemical under this Chemical Weapon Convention.
In the coming days, member states on the Convention of Eliminating All Forms of Chemical Weapons will be looking at key strategies meant to disarm and foster cooperation for a world free of dangerous weapons.
Is unique as it is especially of African national authorities and representatives of the OPCW secretariat come under one forum to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the Chemical Weapon Convention, which is marked as the most successful disarmament treaty.
Babukar Kamara, GRTS.
The Gambia Press Union on Monday issued a press release declaring its withdrawal from negotiations over the Daily Observer's tax liabilities. Famara Fofana tells us more.
Weeks after the Gambia Press Union started brokering talks between the Daily Observer Company and the Gambia Revenue Authority over the Observer's tax liabilities owed to the state, the GPU issued a press release on Monday announcing its withdrawal from the negotiations. But first things first, the Gambia Press Union's involvement in the matter, according to the Observer, and by extension the company itself.
To arrive at this stage that we are in today is a very difficult one, knowing the potential implications that our decision to withdraw could make. But like we said, this is something that has been forced upon us by the leadership of the Observer, because we have to do it to protect the integrity of our organization and also hopefully to protect the interests and welfare of our members or the journalists that work at that company.
Morning Mbow is the managing director of Daily Observer. Reacting to the GPU withdrawal, Mr. Mbow admitted that the Gambia Press Union had earned his respect from the very moment they stepped in to mediate between them and GRA over the Observer tax areas. However, with the Monday press release from the Gambia Press Union, the tone has now changed.
To be honest, I'm disappointed because from day one, we never invited them, but they stepped in and we appreciated it. You know, they earned my respect for the simple reason that they just stepped in without us inviting them. And I thought that, you know, this is a union that is really looking after its members. And I told them categorically, every single one of them, that they earned my respect from that time. But acting so would really tell me something different. Really, I'm disappointed. Get the press release without them informing us prior to the press release.
As the Observer, GRA and GPU were trying to iron out outstanding tax payment modalities, the question as to who owns the Observer company itself has been and is still begging for answers.
The ownership issue of Observer is very important. We all know that previously even some key appointments were coming from the office of the president. But even then, the ownership was still shrouded in mystery. Now that the President Jammeh, former President Jammeh, had left, the problem now has surfaced. And then, as to who owns Observer, we told the government that Observer as a company is registered with the state, and it is their responsibility to go back to their documentation or whatever, their records, and find out and establish who owns Observer. It is very important that they do that.
We have nothing to hide. We have nothing to hide whatsoever. I was appointed by Yaya. That's all I know.
Asked whether the GPU pullout will have any negative impact on the ongoing GRA Daily Observer talks, the newspaper chief said he did not think so, but insists they will respect and adhere to the principles and policies of the GPU as the umbrella body of all media houses in the Gambia. As the Observer and GRA remain locked in talks, the GPU, as indicated in their press release signed by Secretary General Sekou Jammeh, calls on government through the Ministry of Information and Communications Infrastructure to engage the management of the Daily Observer to establish the ownership of the Observer. Because in the words of the GPU, transparency of media ownership is not only important for media freedom, but also for the protection of the rights and the welfare of its members. Tamara Pokara, GRCS.
Lead State Prosecutor Antuman Gay has announced the resignation of Sheriff Tambelu from the lineup of state attorneys prosecuting the case against the 9 intelligence operatives at the High Court. The lead prosecutor made the announcement as the court convened for hearing this morning. Sheriff Tambelu was part of a new team of attorneys assigned to prosecute the matter involving former senior officials of the NIA. Meanwhile, the defense lawyer for the first accused has filed another motion concerning jurisdiction. This motion, which was initially rejected by the prosecution, was later accorded a ruling by the presiding Judge Kumba Sila Kamara, who deferred the matter to the 31st of July. Face the Nation on GRTS TV this week looks at what Banjulians expect from the Banjul City Council. To find out more, join the recording of the program at the BCC Chambers tomorrow, Wednesday, 19th July at 12 noon. The mayor and his senior team will be there to answer your questions and listen to your concerns. Everyone is invited. Now, Gambian Catholic priest Reverend Father Edward Gomez returns home after spending 9 months in Sierra Leone. Father Edu, as he is fondly called, was a staunch critic of some of former President Jammeh's policies. Etienne Silva tells us more.
Look who is here.
Thank you very much. How was it on you? Thank God. You were here on vacation? On vacation. You were back for good? No.
The outspoken priest is visiting home after spending 9 months in Sierra Leone as a rector of the St. Paul's Seminary. The venerable priest was one of the very few religious leaders on the home front who weathered the storm during the very moment they were needed the most. He openly challenged what he called unconstitutional policies of former governments, but equally giving them credit where necessary. He became more assertive and prominent in his preaching in the late 2015-2016 when former presidents declared the country as an Islamic state.
Gambia Republic of Islam, or Islamic Republic. Rew emlante la ken opalew fu ken Gambia kan chilin Gambia bena bopala ken waru ko har bu def ñaar
I felt I'm a citizen. I felt I had a voice to raise. I felt I had a mission to carry, and the medium that was being given is the television. Now, if we begin by getting a declaration and things didn't pass through Parliament, things didn't pass through the cabinet, things were not even discussed. There was no referendum. Obviously, we knew fully well that doesn't overrule it.
Father Edo, as he is fondly called, did not relent. Just a few weeks on, when an executive directive was issued for women in the civil service to wear head ties at work, the veteran priest was at it again, aiming a dig at the former Gambian strongman for an imposing directive.
And what I've said, I believe, entered in the ears of people that listened, and they reacted. From then on, the ban was lifted up.
Meanwhile, at the height of things, precisely in September, the revered priest was chosen by a panel of bishops to man his current position at the St. Paul's Seminary. This came as a shock to Catholics at home, but cognizant of the importance of his service at the seminary, he chose not to betray the trust reposed in him by the bishops, even though he was needed here during those crunch moments. An outpour of speculation started to emerge following his departure, with others whispering that he was whisked away from potential danger at the time. To set the record straight, Father Edo described the rumors as false, but considered being closely under the surveillance of security forces at the time.
I never got threatened in any way. Seemingly people told me in churches that I preach, in sermons that I deliver on television, they were on the lookout, sort of getting all the facts together. Some even said they had men who were not uniformed who came to my church where they had me preach. Imagine, I had been to police station 5 times in Brikama just to defend the cause of Christians being sent to police. Why? Because they had first communion or confirmation, my marriage, and they were celebrating. during the month of Ramadan.
The revered father sounds pleased with the new Gambia, but urges all on Sunday not to settle scores, but instead promotes tolerance.
Gambia should focus on unity and reconciliation, because it's the same Gambia I spoke about when I made mention of this Kankili or Kunkili, stating that Gambia is one voice, Gambia is one head, we shouldn't be divided. If there is a division of the country, then there's going to be an upheaval.
For now, Father Edo has his sights set on his current appointment, but the man with the popular Kankiling sermon said he would not relent in preaching against, among other things, injustice and inequality. Etienne Silva, GRTS News.
Officials of the Ministry of Transport, Works and Infrastructure recently embarked on a nationwide inspection of roads and other infrastructure. Murubajan was with the team, and he reports that officials and rural residents in particular are hopeful of the government's intervention to improve the country's road and infrastructure.
Beginning at North Bank region, the team inspected the Hakalan road network which connects settlements including Bunyadu, Albreda, Kuntaya, Bangali and Milina Serinmas, as well as Kirmama and Kerwan. Speaking to GRTS, the Minister of Transport, Works and Infrastructure, underlined the significance of the inspection exercise, which also took them to the ongoing Lamin Koto Pasamas road construction site.
We have been on tour. We started on the North Bank, Nyomi, upon New Lower, Jokadu, Lower Badibu, Central Badibu, Upper Badibu. We went to Sami to look at the road there. But most of the time, as you would know, we were covering only the bad roads. We want to see what is actually happening. The reason is simple. The number of bad roads we have in this country is far more than the good ones. And we have to start a program of really addressing. It's about time.
Local authorities, including Chief Alhaji Jan, Fabala Fadia Kinti, and Jim Farnojo, as well as Ibrahim and Sutamba Jami, and North Bank Governor Ibrahim K.S. Damfa, were appreciative of the intervention. It also seeks to address the condition of roads such as the Njaba Kunda, Salikenya Bani 1. To them, this will help boost socio-economic activities in the region and beyond.
One specific area which is of utmost importance for us has been the Hakalan road. You have to go to Bunyadu, the Pakendix, Albreda, and then down to Kuntara. There are so many villages. And because of the economic emancipation and socio-economic development of the area, all these roads are important.
Well, it's paramount. It's very serious. At certain times, you hardly move. And for that matter, there are places that need to be upgraded immediately. So the minister coming up right now to make sure he sees it firsthand is something that we are hopeful is going to bring about a change.
Elsewhere in Jawara, officials, among them the Managing Director, National Roads Authority, Maudou Senghor, and Alkalo Aja Hadipane of Jawara, highlighted the need to fix the Krewan Jawara road, which is linked to the Senegalese settlement of Kaula. Going through roads connecting the Sarakunda, Ngain Sanjal, Bambali, Sinchunjobo, Kanikunda and other villages, Jenaba Ba of Dibakunda Fula appealed to the authorities, adding that the poor state of the roads affect all of them, including school children. The governor of URR, Fatu Jami Ture, reinforced the concerns of the people, particularly the situation of the road linking Basse, Fatoto and Koena. Though a small country, the fact that the River Gambia divides the country into two has to a large extent contributed to the current transport challenges in some areas in the country. There are instances where small ferries have to be manually pulled to effect crossings. Commenting on this matter, Minister Job outlined plans to build key crossing points including Basse.
We are considering not only ferries but also bridges. You know, we have been applying the road from Basse to Koena. And the reason is because we have an imminent project to do a road there, and we are considering building bridges at Fatoto and Basse. And for these pull ferries, I'm sure they are going to be history very soon.
After crisscrossing the Upper River region, the touring party continued to other regions. Modu Bayan reporting for GRTS News.
Meanwhile, the National Assembly member for Bundunkakunda, Honorable Bakari Njai, and the people of Nema Sunday began construction work on a new bridge at Nemasu. Chanke Ture was there, and this is her report.
This location is well known as a disaster hotspot. Almost every year during the rainy season, residents of Nemasu face difficulties in pools of water that may use the roads, which are constantly flooded by heavy downpours. Residents around the area have come together to construct a bridge. The team was headed by Bakari Njai, National Assembly member for Bundunkakunda.
Here is a hotspot whereby when it rains, people of this side find it difficult to cross. And this is the only way that link them to outside their homes. They go this way for their daily living, but when it rains, they find it difficult to cross here.
The ongoing construction was made by hardwood, which according to many, will ease the movement for people from one place to another.
We want to make sure that we have a bridge that will help these people to be able to cross at night, at any time of the night, without fear.
Aisati Job, a resident of Bundum, recalled how they suffered from impassable roads every summer. Job further explained how a resident lost his life. Wasulung explained that due to the condition of the area, women find it challenging to go to the market. We have endured a lot, and a proper road is urgently needed here. We don't want our kids to die in that gutter anymore. Diba told GRTS and appealed to the government of the day to come to their aid. Other speakers, including Bafode Sise, the constituency chairman, Nyalin Sidi Khan, head of Women's Kafo, Pa Salifu Jallo, and Mustafa Ture, all hailed the efforts of Honorable Bakari Njai in facilitating the construction of the bridge. The bridge is currently under construction and is expected to be completed soon for people to embark on their daily routine without the fear of falling into the water course. Reporting for GRTS News, I am Jackie Ture.
The Medical Research Council has launched a 2-year project on tobacco control and treatment, targeting 16,000 patients. The event brought together experts from the TB Control Unit. Fabara Kanyi has more in this report.
The project is a pilot research program for TB patients meant to assess their lives before and after treatment. It will also serve as a step in combating the spread of the disease in Africa. The 2-year project will be implemented in 4 African countries, including the Gambia, where up to 400 patients are expected to benefit from the project. Professor Bate Kampman works with the Medical Research Council. She is leading the research study.
This project is trying to understand why some people have long-term problems even after their TB is cured. So, as you know, TB is a disease that affects the lungs primarily, and we know that many patients, although they have cured the disease, they still have some scarring on their lungs, and we want to know what is causing the scarring and which patients might be more predisposed to getting these long-term consequences of TB, so that we can possibly do something for them at an early stage before they have long-term problems.
According to health experts, patients suffering from tuberculosis are more often stigmatized by society compared to other ailments.
TB is just like any other disease. And normally perplexed that people with diabetes or hypertension will go around telling people I'm having diabetes. It's curable. So why am I not going to be proud to say I'm having TB? So we aim to at least take away that stigma from people. What they are doing today will contribute in the lives of many to come.
I'm so delighted that such a research is coming here in the Gambia, which will transform
the life of our TB patients and ultimately the community, and keep TB out of our community eventually, and inform policymakers on how to go to care for the TB patients.
The MRC Gambia unit is the leading research center in the country, and this project, officials further stated, is one of the many steps undertaken by the unit to combat the spread of tuberculosis in the country. Reporting for DRS News, Alpha Marakani.
The Ministry of Fisheries informs stakeholders, development partners and the general public that there will be a 2-day National Fisheries Stakeholder Retreat scheduled for Tuesday 25th and Wednesday 26th July at Gambia Hotel. The theme of the retreat is Fisheries Sector and the Way Forward. The forum is designed to boost the sector's contribution to the socio-economic development of the country. Stakeholders and development partners are reminded that their presence is crucial. We now take our first break. Coming up next is international news. Welcome back. South Africa's Communist Party has announced it will contest elections independently from the African National Congress. Although it has yet to stipulate when it plans to contest polls, the decision is essentially a warning to the ANC to get its house in order. That's according to some political analysts. CGTN's Jolisa Jamela has more in this report.
He is part of a tripartite alliance with the ruling ANC. That alliance includes Labour Federation COSATU. The three organizations have always worked collectively. The SACP has particularly been a vocal supporter of President Jacob Zuma in his quest to be an ANC leader. The SACP says since the rise of factionalism within the ANC, there's been lack of consultation with other alliance leaders. They say this has led to major decisions being made without an input from alliance members.
All of us go out to campaign for the ANC to win elections. Thereafter, the ANC alone decides who to deploy where, how members of parliament must vote, which policy, which legislation, which regulation must be passed, what must happen in state-owned enterprises. When all of these things are happening, it is as if there is no alliance.
They feel they have been betrayed, and of which the public probably is feeling like they have been betrayed as well. So if the ANC brand has been tarnished so much and leadership has plummeted to this degree, it is good probably for the SACP to stand alone for the elections.
The Communist Party has now stated their intention to consider standing for election on their own. It's a radical shift from the tradition of campaigning for elections with the ANC. But the party leadership first wants to explore what they call alliance realignment before actively contesting state power through elections.
If that cannot happen, we will run out of all reasons to justify why we are still an alliance. We are going to be persistent and patient in pushing for the alliance to reconfigure, to the extent where all members of society will see that we have tried everything, so that any time we move on, nobody will say we have taken a unilateral decision.
The African National Congress spokesperson says the ruling party will meet with the SACP before making any comment. Ladies and gentlemen, CGTN, Johannesburg, South Africa.
A Brazilian port through which close to 1 million African slaves were trafficked has been named a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Slaves started arriving in Valongo in Rio de Janeiro by boat in 1811. The UN says the port is a reminder of the devastating impact of slavery. But Valongo's grim story started at Ghana's Cape Coast Castle, where many of the people who were trafficked departed. Let's take a look at the Ghanaian link to Valongo Port.
This is one of Ghana's most iconic sites, a place of history and haunting memories. Cape Coast Castle was built in the 17th century by European traders. The British later took it over. They ran it as a trading post, first for timber and gold, then people.
This is the entrance to the male dungeons. Now, British built the castle such that the dungeons could take 1,300 slaves at one time. but men were always 1,000, women 300. They were kept in the dungeons for a period of 2 weeks to 3 months. Minimum 2 weeks, maximum 3 months. All depends on the availability of European ships.
Over the course of 2 centuries, tens of millions of African men, women and children were sold into slavery. Cape Coast Castle was a major transit point on the long and dangerous sea voyage to Europe and the Americas. It's a tragic chapter in Ghana's history, but one that experts say must never be forgotten.
If we don't know our past, we wouldn't be able to build a better future. And the history of the world cannot be complete without a story of slave trade. So it is important for everybody, wherever you are from, whether you are European, African, Asian, to know about the tragedy that happened to Africans, so that together we can prevent this tragedy from happening in the near future or in the future.
As a UNESCO World Heritage Site, Cape Coast Castle offers tourists and students from around the world a chance to pay tribute to those who endured the most cruel of fates. Chin Kill, CGTN.
And before we take leave of you, a recap of today's main stories. The government and the private sector are validating the Gambia's electricity roadmap. Local and international delegates have met in Banjul to discuss the elimination of chemical weapons. South Africa's Communist Party has announced plans to contest future elections on an independent platform. And the UN has enlisted the Brazilian port of Valongo, a key terminal in the transatlantic slave trade, as a World Heritage Site. Well, viewers, that was all in this edition of the news. Thanks for the pleasure of your company. From myself and others of the team, have a good night and do enjoy the very best of our programs. Bye-bye.